Alien abduction refers to the phenomenon of people reporting what they believe to be the real experience of being kidnapped by extraterrestrial beings and subjected to physical and psychological experimentation. Thousands of people around the world claim to have experienced abductions, and some throughout their whole life. In some cases, whole families have experienced these abductions, such as the following case that took place in the United States. On January the 16th, 1988, Jenny and Doug Henderson from rural New Hampshire were at home with their two children, Sarah 10 and Aidan 12, along with their boxer dog Poppy. That night, they went to bed as usual. During the night, Jenny was awoken by the sound of their dog's loud yelping that for some reason abruptly stopped. The following morning, she woke up terrified with a series of strange memories that began with their yelping dog and its sudden silence, then the sound of quick footsteps that appeared to enter their bedroom. But what startled her the most was seeing her husband's defensive stance at the bedroom door, followed by the appearance of a group of beings that somehow immobilized him before laying him down on the bed. Then a small figure appeared at the bottom of the bed. Its eyes were cat-like and penetrating and filled her with fear, followed by a tingling sensation that started at her toes before rising up her body towards her head. She then became paralyzed. Was this all a vivid dream, or did it really happen? She then got out of bed and walked into the bathroom to have a shower, but as she turned on the light switch, the bulb suddenly blew. A few seconds later, she plugged the hairdryer into the wall socket, and as she turned on the switch, she heard a sudden pop, followed by the acrid smell of burning wire. Figuring she was not having a good morning, she headed to the kitchen to make herself a coffee. She could see that her son's battery-operated video game was sitting at the edge of the table, and as she walked past, it immediately activated and started playing video games by itself. She thought to herself, I must be electrically charged today. She then grabbed the handheld mixer and plugged it into the socket, preparing to beat some eggs. But as she adjusted the speed to low, the mixer made a whining noise and then it died. It gave off a terrible, acrid smell of burning wire, just like the hairdryer. At that point, her son Aidan appeared in the kitchen complaining that it felt like he'd been up all night. He said, You know how I never believed in UFOs? Well, last night changed my mind. Now I know they're real. His mother asked, What do you mean? He replied, You know what I mean, before heading back to his bedroom. His mother said, No, I don't know what you mean, and stood at his bedroom door asking him what he was talking about. As he lifted his head off the pillow, she could see blood. She quickly headed toward her daughter's bedroom and saw her daughter slowly lift her head off of the pillow. Her daughter looked up and said, I almost woke you up in the middle of the night because a helicopter woke me up. It was outside my bedroom window, shining a light into my eyes. And when I got up and looked outside, I could see the windows and all the people looking back at me. And then for some reason, I felt really sleepy and fell back asleep. Her mother said it might have been a dream, but her daughter replied that it was too real to be a dream. She said that after falling asleep, she dreamt that a little man had taken her into a small building behind the house and played games with her all night. Her mother then saw blood on her daughter's pillow. She told her mother that she was exhausted and felt she had not slept all night. Jenny walked back into the living room and threw herself onto the sofa and cried, screaming, Not my kids. When her husband asked her what was wrong, she said, There's blood on everyone's pillow. Up to that point, Jenny had had years of denial and could no longer reject the idea that intruders had intervened in her life and were now wreaking havoc with her children. It appears that on January the 16th, 1988, the whole family had been abducted, and in the years that followed, the abduction had affected her physically and had left her with debilitating fatigue, weight loss, periodic memory problems, fevers, night sweats, migraine headaches, and balance problems. After reading about similar incidents, Jenny found that her symptoms were highly prevalent among alien abduction experiences. Many abductees had lifelong memories of terrifying beings that appear at night, where they wake up paralyzed and unable to move anything except their eyes. Other abductees report they've had lifelong encounters with benevolent alien visitors that showed compassion towards them. Many suspected abductees tremble when they speak of their abduction experience, where their once normal lives were disrupted and cannot believe that it happened to them, and even question their own memories. Jenny Henderson did not want to get involved in a formal investigation and felt it too risky. She and her husband were prominent members of their community and had too much to lose if what they'd experienced became public. However, that night in 1988 was not the first time that Jenny had experienced alien visitations, where it seems she'd been abducted on other occasions since she was a child, and believed that it was during this period in her life that her nighttime intrusions began. On one occasion, when she was 14, she awoke one morning feeling like a new, fully aware person. It was like someone had activated synapses in her brain that had long been dormant. She developed a photographic memory and experienced an academic awakening. She claimed that her ability to retain information changed at that age. Throughout her secondary school years, she was able to retain detailed memories of facts and figures, and her memory was amazing, which in turn gave her high grades. It appears that the aliens were able to manipulate her brain somehow. When she married Doug, she claimed it was initially a happy home, but the events in 1988 brought her secure world down, and her life would never be the same. Jenny eventually sought help from a Dr. James Harder, a prominent UFO and abduction researcher. Dr. Harder was a certified hypnotist with experience in abductions and interviewed Jenny about her memories of the night in question. He instructed her to return to the night in question. Jenny recalled standing on her balcony, accompanied by a being that she was not able to describe. She was then floated aboard a craft to a dimly lit room with a rounded wall. She was laid in a semi-reclining apparatus that reminded her of a dentist chair, before a tall, thin, alien-like creature with large, insect-like eyes entered the room. He came close and stared into her eyes, where in an instant she felt an intense sensation of pure love that she had never ever known. But what happened next disturbed her, and she didn't want to recall it. After the session, she thanked Dr. Harder, feeling certain that her frightening memories were only a dream, believing that levitation was impossible and her experience could not have been real. Eventually, her apprehension about nocturnal visitations ceased, and her anxiety diminished, and she was able to lead a normal life without the fear of falling asleep at night. However, the event of the night of January the 16th, 1988 still left her feeling perplexed and physically ill. Had the session with Dr. Harder brought the fears out into the open rather than being buried in the subconscious? Even though her memories appeared real and vivid, she was able to rationalize the situation by telling herself it didn't happen and was all a terrible dream, and everything that happened to her had defied the laws of physics and therefore could not have happened. Does this mean that in order to lead a normal, anxious-free life with undisturbed sleep, Jenny had to deny all that had happened to her in her life? That is, until she gets another possible visitation. Strangely though, the abductions appeared to be centered around Jenny and her two children, but what of her husband Doug, who himself must have unconsciously observed what was happening to his family, yet it appears that he was able to suppress it without any serious repercussions. But you cannot keep events buried in your subconscious forever, and one day they will want to be released, either as physical symptoms or nightmares. How long could Jenny keep everything suppressed?